I don't care what anyone has to say, data analysis is here to stay. And as someone who has been a data analyst for the last 5 years, I can tell you with full confidence that anyone is able to break into this field despite their background, despite their work experience, and despite whatever degree they have. If you needed a sign in order to break into data, this is your sign, because I'm going to give you the full 90-day roadmap to go from a complete newbie, complete no idea what to do, to someone who is well on their way to landing their first ever role. The way this happens is I'm going to break down the technical aspect, and then get into the actual application and CV process, and even how to get interviews like that. You may have heard people say it will take you 3 months, it will take you 6 months, it will take you 9 months, it will even take you 12 months. But I can tell you with full confidence, on average, my students, it has taken them 90 days, aka 3 months, in order to break into the field and land a graduate role. Enough waffle, let me get straight into the 90-day data domination roadmap. And if you wanted to request your own copy of this roadmap, all you have to do is DM me on Instagram the word data, and I'll send you your own PDF copy. Okay, bismillah. The first 20 days of our 90 days is going to focus primarily on Excel. Now, Excel is a very multifaceted tool, and we can use it for several things in several different fields. So you may have already come across it, but I want you to specifically focus on the following aspect. Formulas, so how to actually write formulas, what they begin with, equals, etc. Pivot tables. Now, these are tables where we can extract and draw data very, very quickly. So how do you actually create those pivot tables, and what do they look like? Dashboards. Specifically, I want to look at interactive views within dashboards. Now, you can create any sort of dashboard, but I want you to focus on pie charts, bar graphs, and line graphs. KPIs. Now, specifically in the pivot tables or in the dashboards, I want you to focus on KPIs. Now, these may look like measuring performance or aligning strategy with some sort of action, some sort of metric that we use in order to motivate employees or to give insight into the company itself. The other thing, and the final thing, is slices. Now, this is a common theme, and you'll find it in the next thing that we talk about, but I want you to focus on slices as well. Now, I should mention before we get into our next technical tool to learn, that you need to learn basic statistics. You can do this before Excel, or you can do this between, in order to give yourself a little bit of a break. Now, specifically what I mean by statistics is focusing on your mean, your median, and your mode. Average as well as quartiles and percentiles, kind of going back to GCSE mathematics here. And the final one, outliers or anomalies. You should take about 3 days to solidify, practice, do all of these statistics, and then move on to the next technical tool. Now we have finished Excel and we've moved on to learning some basic statistics, or we've learned basic statistics and moved on to Excel. So this should take us on average around 23 days in order to practice, learn, and do works in. Now we need to move on to our next technical tool, which in my opinion is very important, which is Power BI. BI is a super powerful data visualization tool. Now you will find some people will say, no, actually Tableau is much more common. However, here in the UK, I find that Power BI is more common. If you wanted to use Tableau, it's pretty much the same thing, it just differs slightly in the interface. I want you to focus specifically in Power BI on table relations. So how does one table relate to a different table? And you'll find another way of saying it is the one-to-many or one-to-one relationships that they have. Visuals. So if I was going to use a line graph, what kind of thing in the line graph am I using? I'm using a time series. What kind of variables are used? And I want you to start picking these up very, very slowly but surely. Data storytelling. This is super, super, super important. I'm going to say this is probably more important than actually learning the tool itself. I learned this pretty late, but I realized this was the tool to unlocking a good looking dashboard and actually making it be useful in the real world. So I recommend you use or you do a course with LinkedIn Learning. And this course is called Data Visualization or Data Storytelling for data analytics or something similar. I'll pop it in the screen. And that one is so useful and so easy to understand. Now, the other one is DAX formulas. DAX formulas work very similarly to how Excel carries out their formulas, but I want you to get familiar with how those look as well. Power queries, KPIs again. KPIs is a very common theme throughout data analytics, so the easier or the faster you learn that, the better it's going to be. And then the final one is creating executive level dashboards, and they differ slightly. We'll go into that in another video, but they do differ slightly to normal dashboards. Power BI should take you on average another 20 days. So just to recap, Excel is 20 days, basic statistics is 20 days, Power BI is 20 days. So now we're looking at 43 days out of the 90 days. Okay, cool. So now we need to move on into our final technical tool, which is SQL. And I'm happy to say that's the last of our technical tools. So don't worry too much. Now, SQL, I want you to focus specifically on table relations again, or relationships, and then select, where, order by, and then joins. Joins are ones that are like inner joins, left joins, right joins, but all the types of joins you should be very comfortable using and getting to know. I also want you to focus on group by and aggregations. So these are ones like sum, count, average, etc. These will relate back to the basic statistics that we learned earlier, so it's kind of a little refresher for you. Awesome. Now you've done your technical tools. You've spent 20 days Excel, 20 days Power BI, 20 days SQL, and then 3 days on basic statistics. Now we're going to be moving on to the soft skill aspect of data analytics, because this is equally as important as the technical stuff. So we're going to spend the next 15 days working on portfolio and project building. Now, I don't want you to do any projects, and I don't care to see any portfolio that is just random. No Titanic data set, none of these things. I want you to specifically focus on projects that every single company cares about. And these look like projects relating to sales analysis, customer churn analysis, HR workforce analysis, financial analysis, and finally, any other analysis that is related back to how a company works. Now, you can find these data sets on some pretty open source websites, such as Kaggle, Google Dataset Search, data.gov, Shopify sample data sets, and this one, Shopify is really good for financial analysis. And then final one, Adventure Works by Microsoft. Here in the end of our 90-day journey, we just have the CV and the actual applications left, and maybe even some internships that we can start landing in order to build out our CV. In your CV, which is super, super crucial, I want you to focus on the CAR framework. The CAR framework stands for challenge, action, result. Challenge, action, result. And with that, what I mean is, what is the task? What was the challenge that was given? What is the action that you specifically took? And what was the result of that action? Now, result is probably 2 times as important as the rest of the CAR framework, because very much people miss out on results a lot of the time. I want you to also hyper focus in your bullet points in your CV on quantifiable results that you have impacted or have had an impact on your work, on your company, on whatever. So these could look like percentages, these could look like decimals, these could look like manager work, these could look like many, many things. But the better you can quantify these and say, my result led to XYZ, the better it can be and the stronger your CV can be. The top 3 experiences, and not many people know this, the top 3 experiences in your CV at a minimum, I do say to my students 5 at a minimum, but the top 3, you can just start with that, have to be focused, very much hyper focused on data related work. Nothing to do with McDonald's shift manager, but if you had an experience like that, then obviously do relate it back to data. But the better or the more related you can make those experiences, the stronger your CV is going to be. So I want you to spend the next 2 days working on your CV in terms of that. The next 10 days or the last 10 days of our 90-day data domination roadmap is going to be spent specifically on sending out applications. Now, I want you to put the goal of 100 applications within them 10 days. The more you can do, the better. But those 100 applications are going to be super, super pivotal in giving you feedback into figuring out if you are going in the right direction or the wrong direction, so that you can pivot your CV, tailor it, figure out if it's the CV that's wrong or if it's your interview skills. And this gives you the bare crux of what you can do. If you've been auto-rejected, you need to work on the ATS keywords in your CV. If you got rejected in stage 1, then you need to work on your interview skills. If you got rejected in stage 2, then it's your technical skills. And the more you know, the better. And guess what? Because you are a data analyst now, the more you can track the data, the better of a result you can get. Just before you go off and do exactly what we've said in this video, I want you to have this final hack, which I guarantee no one has told you about, is how to actually land internships, because experiences can be the hardest part of actually doing your CV and actually getting that job. So I want you to go to the first website, which is theforage.com, not affiliated by the way, but I personally have find it be super useful to enrich my CV. It's got companies on there that are literally looking for data analysts to work in their companies. So they've got things like KPMG, which has a data analytics internship, BCG, Tata, Accenture, General Electric, PwC. There's so many more that I can list for you. And then the second website is called Springpod, and this one has some pretty good internships on there as well. Things like British Airways, Rolls-Royce, and so many more I can't think off the top of my head. I would personally collect these like Pokemon. Like, I would add as many as I humanly possibly can, because these are prestigious companies, and research has found that prestigious companies improve your chances of being shortlisted by at least 50%. So it's going to make a massive difference. That was the full 90-day data domination roadmap. And if you haven't done already, go ahead and start applying exactly what you've learned. Now, I would love to know more about you. Drop a comment of where you come from in terms of your background or your degree. I would love to give you some advice.